We're on our third video here with the normalization process. So we're at the third normal form, which says there can be no fields that are dependent on non-key fields. And let me just back up a little bit here. Here's where we left off after the second normal form. And we're going to be taking care of this customer data in the orders table in the third normal form. Because as you can see, there are fields in this table here that are dependent upon, functionally dependent upon, a field that's not a primary key. In this case, customer name is functionally dependent on customer ID as our address, city, and state. That means if you are given a single value of a customer ID, you can determine the name, address, city, and state. So we have a situation here where we have fields that are dependent upon a non-key field. And here's how we break this down then. We take the customer data out of that, create its own table. And now we don't have any fields in any of these tables that are dependent upon non-key fields or non-candidate key fields. And here's what the final ERD would look like. The only difference between this one and the one I just showed you was we had to put the customer ID back up here as a foreign key. So now it's showing that a customer could have 0 or many orders. Each order refers back to one and only one customer. Also, an order can have many items on it, and an item could show up on many orders. Now you can see this is what we came up with. Remember, we had one table to start with. They were keeping all this data in one spreadsheet, and then they started out with one table. Going through the process, we came up with 4 tables. Now, remember I said usually just the rules of 1 would have helped you to this situation. For instance, you want to keep information about one thing in one entity. So in our customer entity, we got customer data. In our order entity, we got order data. And in our items entity, we have item data over here. Orders and item, you would have come to a conclusion at a many-to-many relationship, because an order can have many items on it, an item could show up on many orders. So we create this linking entity between the two. So we could have followed the common sense rules, the rules of 1, and came up with the same design. But it is nice to see this tutorial going through the normalization steps to come up with this design also. Here's the final ERD. They just put in this to show this as a concatenated primary key. There's another way to do primary keys in these linking entities, and that's just to create a separate, what's called a surrogate for a primary key. Surrogate primary key. You could have had order items number up here, and these would have order ID and item ID would still be foreign keys. Or you can put them together like this and have a concatenated primary key. And that is it for this tutorial. So I did mention, the first time through these tutorials and the normalization steps, it's really fuzzy. Hopefully this Colson tutorial helped a little bit. I also suggest to read Chapter 5 in the text and go through the examples they have. And as time goes on, you'll become more familiar with and feel more comfortable with the normalization process.